For years, Dubai's pitch to Indian HNIs and startup founders was simple.
Habibi, come to Dubai.
Dubai was pitched as a tax-efficient business hub only 4 hours from Mumbai, and most importantly, it was considered safe. But this week, that last pillar, that of security, took a major hit. On March 1st, a national emergency alert echoed across the Emirates. It contained urgent safety guidance amid a heightened missile threat following military escalations involving Iran, the United States, and Israel. And for the first time in modern history, the safe haven of West Asia saw debris from intercepted missiles falling near the Burj Al Arab and the Palm Jumeirah. We've already taken you through what the prolonging of this war means for India in our episode earlier this week. But today, we're looking at the war with Iran through a very specific lens, that of brand UAE. For India's wealthy and its corporations, Dubai wasn't just a city, it was an insurance policy. But what happens to the policy when the insurer is under fire? That's exactly what we're going to find out, because the UAE ranks as India's third largest trading partner. For context, there are over 3.5 million Indians in the Emirates. But the story we're focused on is the potential capital flight owing to this conflict. So what really happens to brand UAE? Will Indian HNIs continue to invest in the desert cities of the Emirates? How will Dubai's prized real estate industry react to the ongoing conflict? How are markets responding? What are other asset classes that will be affected? What will happen to remittances? Are plans being scrapped or just being put on hold? We ask all of this and more to ET's real estate pro Sobia Khan and ACE Middle East correspondent Dilasha Seth. It's Thursday, March 5th. I'm your host Dia Rekhi, and you are listening to The Morning Brief from the Economic Times. Real estate is a critical segment of Dubai's success and something that's mirrored even in other cities in the UAE like Abu Dhabi and Sharjah. Dubai real estate in particular has been on tear. As many as 120,000 new units are set to hit the market this year. But with the ongoing situation, Indian brokers are already seeing a dip in site visits. It's not that people are selling their villas in Emirates Hills. It's more that the new money, the family offices from Mumbai or Delhi, are hitting the pause button. So is the money that was earmarked for a Dubai penthouse staying in Indian equity markets or flowing elsewhere? We get Sobia to take us through what the murmurs are in real estate circles. Thank you so much, Sobia, for joining us on the morning brief today.
Thanks, Dia. Thanks for having me here.
I just wanted to start off, Sobia, with understanding a little bit more about how the Dubai real estate market has performed historically before we dive into, what is happening today. I think that legacy context would be interesting and important.
Yeah, totally. I agree with you on that. So, Dia, if you look at the last 4 years, okay, Dubai has been a historic upcycle mode, right? Since 2021, wealth migration, golden visa, global capital inflows have fundamentally reshaped the market. And, there's some data which I would like to bring to your notice that Dubai Land Department 2025 recorded the highest transaction in terms of value for residential real estate, which is alone coming to 540 billion AED, okay? And this is 200,000 deals that we are talking about. And the average price, of investment by individual buyers is 2.6 to 2.7 million AED, which is again 7% up year. So that's quite a significant number. And historically led by luxury real estate, waterfront, branded residences, and Indian buyers have been central to this story. They consistently rank as the largest foreign investment group often accounting for like 20 to 30% of offshore residential purchases in prime micro markets. Markets like downtown, Dubai Marina, Palm Jumeirah has been, favorites with Indians when it comes to buying property. And then, you have investors from other geographies, which is UK, China, Saudi Arabia, Russia. And now, if you look at this scenario now on the ground, right? So we see sentiment will take a hit for sure. We haven't seen a lot of cancellation and all as of now, but there have been some, small bits of information coming up where people have put things on hold, saying, hey guys, just wait now, we'll come back to you.
Right. Just to take off from what you said a little bit, Sobia, you mentioned that Indians are among the largest group of buyers here, right? What
Yeah.
really led to this flight of capital to Dubai?
So I think, Dia, it's a mix of a lot of things. First, the promise of giving you the safest environment in the world, right? And the golden visa that you get for 10 years if you're there. And what led to a sudden spurt was the 2021 post pandemic, where people were looking at moving out, be it an individual investors or large investors coming from the large corporate or entertainment industry in India. So it's global capital that has flown into Dubai from India is mainly to do with lifestyle, property taxes that they save on, the overall tax that people save on, the golden visa. And I also see a lot of people from India who are now investing as a rental income. So because the rental
Right.
yield there is around 7 to 8%, while
Sure.
as India it is in much lower numbers. So that promise of having a second home there rather than India is also getting a lot of capital move into Dubai.
I wanted to
Yeah.
understand from you a little bit more about what you are hearing from people you're talking to, because in your story you spoke of, how this crisis in Iran might cause collateral damage
Yeah.
to the property market.
So they have been talking to a lot of brokers and developers on the ground, especially, there are a lot of Indians developer have forayed from in the Dubai market. So we have the likes of Casa Grande, BCD Global, Monarch Group, and Berries. These are like not the,
Soba as well.
catalytic.
Soba is huge there.
Yeah, Shoba is huge. But these are the new entrant who were like trying to see how Dubai market can give them higher ROI by
Right.
doing one project there compared to doing multiples in India. Now these guys may find it little difficult because there's a sentimental hit. In fact, I was talking to some of the sales guy within these development companies. They are saying that we had confirmed transactions. Then suddenly the guy comes and tells us, let's put this on hold. I don't want to go, or just cancel this for me. It's not in large numbers right now, but those small bit of hints have started flowing in right now. And if the situation prolongs, right, if it's prolonged to 3 months, primary sentiment impacts, fundamental remain intact. But if it goes beyond 3 to 6 months, transaction velocity will slow more visibly and ultra prime pricing could face pressure. We could see offers hitting the market. We will see global capital moving out of that market because UAE is a lot driven by the real estate. You will see correction in the property market. You will see distress sale coming in the market. There will also be impact on the rental side, right? But right now, it is too early for us to conclude on that because we will only see what direction this geopolitical tension is taking. But in the long term, if it prolongs more than 3 months, we will definitely see an impact. Because we also have a lot of Indian capital from the fund perspective. I personally know of an AIF that is deploying a lot of capital in the residential real estate. So, there could be a hit on that side as well.
Just to understand the market a little better, Sobia, could you give our listeners a sense of what the prices of these properties are at right now? And I mean, not necessarily during this conflict, but what they have traditionally been at.
Yeah. So, that's like I said, the sweet spot where the maximum transaction happens is at 2.6 to 2.7 million. And then you have the high end, Palm Jumeirah and all, where it's happening in upwards of 200 AEDs, where 300, it goes up to 500 AED in some cases as well, where you have rich Indians from Mukesh Ambani to Shah Rukh Khan owning the villas there. So it all depends where you are buying. But traditionally, if you have around 2.5 million to say five at a higher stretch, you can afford a 2 to 3-bedroom flat in a good locality in Dubai. And I'm talking about in terms of AED.
Got it. You spoke about Dubai and how it's historically been a city where you get good rental yields, right? Do you feel like that will change and maybe people will want to invest elsewhere because of rental yields specifically?
So rental yield, Dubai, it works very well for people because one is you do not get taxed, right? So that increase your rental yield. So for instance, if I buy say 1 bedroom in Bangalore, Dia, I would spend say for a very good community 40-50 lakhs in buying that 1 bedroom. Similar 1 bedroom in a good locality in Dubai will cost me, a minimum of 2.5 CR Indian money and can go up to, the size of the apartment that you are looking at. In some
Correct.
cases, even 3 CRs, right? But that property is giving you a rental income of minimum of 10,000 dirham per month, which is 2.5 lakh. In India, if I have to put the same thing on rental, I may as well, I might just land up with 25,000 in my pocket. So that perception may not change, but when it comes to looking at different geographies, that could be an option with buyers who have money in their pocket, especially in Southeast Asia, they could explore options. But Dubai being Dubai as the first choice for people, and if things stabilize, the market will continue to sustain the growth if everything is settled sooner on the ground.
Got it. The other thing is, Sobia, a lot of the times what happens is that when we speak of the UAE, we end up talking about Dubai specifically.
Yes.
But there are
Yes.
a lot of other sort of cities that are part of the UAE. When we speak of the real estate market being so huge in Dubai, what is the market like in other cities across the United Arab Emirates?
So when we talk about the markets that are really doing well there right now, it is Abu Dhabi. So
Sure.
as of early 2026, the Abu Dhabi real estate market has seen a very strong sustained demand, where the market has risen by 16%, driven by high-end residential, because it has very limited supply, and it's all driven mostly by expats again. And property prices are roughly 30% above 2020 level in Abu Dhabi. You have Riyadh, which is doing well, and Sharjah to an extent. Sharjah is one of the very cheapest market in comes out to, buying a property there. So I could easily own a 1 bedroom in Sharjah for 80,000 AED, while the same property might cost me 2.5 AED in 2.5 AED in Dubai. These are slightly cheaper market, but not able to attract that kind of investors confidence or investment because of the lifestyle that they offer, because the lifestyle that people get in Dubai is way higher. Otherwise, all these markets have been performing well. Abu Dhabi has done exceptionally well recently, and followed by Riyadh, because all the infrastructure and the real estate investment that has been announced by the government.
But will the geopolitical tensions push Gulf sovereign wealth funds to pause their investments in Indian real estate?
So typically, we have seen Qatar Investment Authority, Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, all these, and of late new names like Mubadala, right? These people have typically invested through funds in Indian real estate, where they are the fund managers to deploy the capital. There are in some cases where direct transactions has also happened with RDR and QIA, and Mubadala is also looking at direct transactions. So my worry is that if this prolongs, it may have a repercussion on the investment that is coming into the Indian real estate market, because they want to first make sure that everything at home is good for me before
Correct.
getting that capital out of the country. So that's a worry, because some of our funds have a huge exposure to that. And India was a very attractive market for them to pick up assets, especially in the residential and commercial segment. And when I say commercial, it's office segment. So now
Got it.
with the sudden, change in geopolitical situation there, that may take a bit of a, sentimental impact again. But we have to just wait and watch how does things pan out from here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sobia, for joining us again. It's
Yeah.
always a pleasure to have you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dia. Thanks so much.
But there's a lot more than real estate at stake. The UAE is India's second largest electronics export destination after the United States. Dubai and Abu Dhabi are also wealth hubs for the Indian elite, beyond real estate. Also, 9 million Indians work in the Persian Gulf, providing critical remittances. The numbers themselves tell a remarkable story. The UAE ranks as India's third largest trading partner, while India holds a position as the UAE's second largest trading partner, with Indian imports valued at over $63 billion in FY 24-25. For India, the UAE is the second largest export destination, with exports reaching about $37 billion in the same financial year. To break down what all of this means for India-UAE ties, we got Dilasha to give us a ground report. Thank you so much, Dilasha, for joining us on the Morning Brief. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much, Dia. It is definitely a pleasure joining you.
I want you to take us through how the markets reacted today, because we saw this steep plunge today right after markets opened after being closed for about 2 days because of the war, right? What did you see happening today?
Well, you're absolutely right. It was very much awaited, the reopening of the markets today. Dubai financial market plunged 4.7%, and Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange, which is ADX, it fell 3.6% in early trading. This is basically the biggest decline since May 2002, and we saw heavy selling in blue chip stocks. But the positive part is that the reopening of the markets signaled business continuity. There was a question mark on how things will operate going forward. Like we saw in other economies in the Gulf as well, there were sharp drops on the first day, but they showed some recovery by Tuesday. But I just want to add that the UAE market is also quite institutionally supported with sovereign wealth funds and government-linked investors. So they are capable of stabilizing sentiments if volatility spikes.
So what are you seeing on the ground in terms of how people and businesses are reacting to this uncertainty, if not anything else?
As far as business is concerned, definitely there is caution. There is uncertainty about how long this war is going to last and what happens to the supplies and demand. And as you know, UAE is an expat economy, right? And if the war prolongs and they decide to move on to their respective countries, then demand will certainly take a hit. And as you know, that UAE is a fiscal surplus economy. So UAE runs a surplus of about 4% of the GDP. IMF has estimated 2.9% of GDP surplus, budget surplus for 2026 for the UAE, whereas Saudi Arabia is a budget deficit economy, and so is Bahrain. So it makes it a little different doing business in the UAE. Just to give you an instance, I was speaking with big retailers in the region, and the government has been in constant touch with them to ensure that there are enough supplies. And in case of any shortages, because the ports are not functional, they must use chartered flights and get in supplies from overseas and other different locations. And the government has assured them that it would absorb all the additional costs. But overall, you're absolutely right. For private businesses to operate, demand has to be there. And demand will be there when there is a sense of safety and stability. So what the businesses are telling me is that if this continues even 4 to 5 weeks, we are prepared for it. They are ready with business contingency plans and business continuity plans. But everybody is hoping that it doesn't become like the Ukraine war that is going on for 2 years, 4 years now, actually.
Of course.
So definitely, that's where the concern is, the duration of the war.
Oh, absolutely. But coming to another aspect, right? We spoke to Sobia about the real estate portion, but I wanted to ask you, since you're on the ground, about what are the other avenues that are likely to be affected because of this ongoing situation? What are the other avenues of investment that could take a hit?
So definitely, like you said, real estate is going to be a big one. And by the way, I'm told that if things come back to normalcy within 4 weeks, estate could take at least 2 to 3 quarters to get back to doing the same amount of deals that they were doing recently. But other than that, all the sectors that are to do with tourism and business will be impacted. Definitely, aviation is one. And then regional supply chains could also be impacted because UAE is a regional re-export hub and operators like DP World handle massive cargo volumes. I feel that there also we could see some stress. Financial services too could come under some nervousness as Dubai has positioned itself as a global financial center through its DIFC, which is the Dubai International Financial Center. And it was reflected in today's trading hours early in the morning as well, because MR properties fell 4.9%. Air Arabia was down 5%. First Abu Dhabi Bank was also down 5%. So it is definitely reflecting in the market as well.
Correct. And you spoke about the export aspect of it. The UAE is a significant place that India exports to, especially for things like electronics exports, right? How critical is the UAE for India's exports in not just electronics, but overall as well?
Absolutely right, Dia. It will definitely dent a huge blow to Indian exports. I was checking the data, and Indian electronics exports in the first 9 months of the current fiscal year accounted for 4.1 billion worth of shipments. And UAE was the second largest buyer of Indian electronics exports. And even in the case of smartphones, if you see in the subcategory, UAE was the second largest destination with $3.1 billion worth of exports. And same goes for computer hardwares and electronic components. So certainly the disruption will have a direct impact, but again, it all comes down to how long the situation prolongs.
What about the migrant labor that the UAE has from India, right? There is so many people who work in that region. How is it expected to impact remittances during this period?
So UAE was overtaken by the US in terms of being the largest source of remittances to India. And I think in 2000 FY24, US accounted for 27.7% of India's inward remittances. The UAE was the second largest source at about 19%. And it's also due to the fact that the dirham AED is pegged to the US dollar, and we saw sharp depreciation of the Indian rupee against the dollar, and there was 6% depreciation. But for the short run, for example, today, dirham has appreciated against the INR. So there is definitely a window of opportunity, and a lot of people are going to remit a lot of dirhams to India. Everybody, all expats look for certain windows like these. But yes, over the medium term, I do believe there will be some hit to remittances. Again, will depend on how long the war goes on. We just hope everything de-escalates soon and things come back to normal.
But coming to sovereign wealth funds, you mentioned it briefly when we started speaking. How are sovereign wealth funds really viewing the situation now?
So, sovereign wealth funds in the Gulf, they do lend a sense of support to the economy in times like these. And the good part is that they operate with very long investment horizons. So, short-term geopolitical shocks would rarely change their strategy overnight, but they also present a sense of comfort in times of shock like these. So Gulf 7, as they're popularly called, which includes your Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, Mubadala Investment Company, ADQ. Then we have Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, Qatar Investment Authority, Kuwait Investment Authority, and Investment Corporation of Dubai. They control several $1 trillion in assets. And it will not just impact the Gulf if the deployment slows down from them. They were the largest deployers across the globe last year. And in total, they control about 5 trillion worth of assets, which is about 40% of the global sovereign wealth capital. So from a market perspective, they have always been a stabilizing force. And I think that they will continue to be the liquidity as well and firepower to support domestic markets also if needed, while continuing to invest globally in sectors like AI, infrastructure, and technology, as we will see more surplus from oil coming in if oil continues to climb and they are able to supply and sell more.
The other thing, Dilasha, that I really wanted your input on was about Indian startups, right? The UAE has really been aggressive with sort of wooing Indian startups. And to that effect, I wanted to understand if you're hearing that Indian startups that were considering maybe setting up base in the UAE are sort of putting their plans on hold, or are they going ahead? What's really happening with startups?
I did speak with the startup community yesterday, and they told me that for now they are only watching the situation, closely monitoring it. They are in touch with their investors, which is venture capital firms, and they are making business contingency plans and business continuity plans and sharing with their investors. That's what I figured out, that everybody's right now in a wait and watch mood. At the same time, they're preparing for the worst, but being very positive about continuing to do business here. I spoke with an audit tech firm, and the founder told me that he was planning to move to the UAE to expand his business, and his plans remains intact, and he is going to be there by the end of March for sure, with his family following in the months later. So yes, for now there isn't a big dent to the sentiment, but they are preparing with proper risk plans and business continuity plans.
For sure. And the other thing that I thought would be interesting to get your thoughts on would be the golden visa. Do you think that this entire situation is going to make people reassess wanting the golden visa at all, wanting to move, possibly that kind of thing happening?
Well, again, everybody is going to, for now, wait and watch. Nobody's going to take a quick decision, but yes, there could be a pause if they were reflecting on decisions like these. I think people who are very serious about staying in the UAE and do see the UAE as a business base, they are not going to change their plans, and they're going to go ahead with their plans of a golden visa as well. And they're going to invest. This is actually the right time for them to invest if things remain stable over the medium term.
Thank you so much, Dilasha.
Thank you so much.
The significance of India-UAE ties cannot be overstated. While the UAE government has been on overdrive intercepting missiles and putting out the narrative online that people are safe and out and about in Dubai, the sentimental hit has been real. While the president walking around amongst the people a day after the strikes and casually discussing what could be military strategy in a mall is reassuring and provides confidence to people that the government puts their safety above all else, being in a volatile neighborhood with uncertainty is never good for business. And with Iran vowing to widen its retaliatory strikes to cripple economic centers in West Asia if the US and Israel do not relent, it might set off alarm bells among investors. And with Iran's Revolutionary Guard warning that it will open, quote-unquote, the gates of hell on the US and Israel, the UAE will likely be on their radar. Meanwhile, the region is reverberating with oil shocks. Brent crude briefly jumped more than 10 to 13%. Global markets have also turned volatile, with stocks sliding and investors moving into cash and energy assets. The situation is evolving, and like our guest said, everything is in wait and watch mode right now. But we'll keep track of everything that's happening and bring you the latest developments. Thank you, Sobia and Dilasha. It's Thursday, March 5th. I'm your host, Dia Rekhi, and you were listening to The Morning Brief from The Economic Times. This episode was produced by Vinay Joshi, sound designed by Indranil Bhattacharjee. The Morning Brief drops every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, wherever you get your podcasts. Stay tuned and have a great week. External clips used in this episode belong to their respective owners. Credits are mentioned in the description.